Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Afternoon FM. Today, I am joined by Andrea McKenna of Art House. Welcome. This is take two.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me today.
Sure, no problem. No problem. What do you want to talk to me about?
We're going to be going a little bit about her life, her politics, her social security number, and a list of her fears, but mostly her early life and how
my early
she got into art and her interests.
Okay.
And
All
yes,
right.
we're going to be learning a little bit about this lovely lady today.
Okay.
Andrea, thank you for joining me.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. So,
tell me a little bit about like your beginnings. Where are you from?
My beginnings. Well, I am from Fort Lee, New Jersey, and that is where I'm living right now. I moved to Jersey City in 1999 and lived there until the pandemic, and then moved back.
What was it like hitting Jersey City in '99? Is it like, I know, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't know that there was really an art scene at all. I mean, there probably was, but I didn't know that. I was with my now husband, and he lived in the Journal Square area. So that's where I hung out, and I didn't know that there was an art scene downtown. I sorted a little bit, but I didn't know anybody. And I was a decorative painter, and that's sort of when I started my business, which was in '99. And well, it's actually not when I started my business later, but I started becoming a painter. I worked for a company in North Jersey, starting in '99. So, yeah, I just worked like 7 days a week. I mean, I was working for them, and I did like my samples on the weekends, and then I would go see clients on the weekends, and then do jobs. And
what entails about decorative painting?
So it's like faux finishing. So it's like Venetian plaster and textures, stencils, all for interiors of a private home. So I got into that in about '99 when I moved to Jersey City. And so I was I was driving all over New Jersey. I didn't work in Jersey City, so I was, in the morning all over the state, really. So come back, regular time, and then just hang out with with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and just had a life there. But I didn't know that there was really an art scene. I wasn't actively painting then either, because when I became a decorative painter, it was so exhausting that I didn't have any time to do the painting, and I kind of let it go for a while, which was really saddening. And then it wasn't until the housing market in 2008,
capitalism gone wild, going to it,
that I lost a lot of my business within like days. Like I usually had like 6 months to a year booked out, and that weekend it was like I kept getting phone calls of people postponing and canceling their jobs, and I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I'm like, so I mean, I had a few jobs here and there, but not like I'm used to. So I decided that I was going to go back to painting. I had the time, and so I started doing like these, decorative pieces that you can hang in homes. I used to sell them at like the Hoboken Arts and Music Festival. I painted furniture. I did all of this sort of stuff to just sort of get myself back into painting again. And then, things picked up with work, but I still started painting. And then I realized that there was a scene downtown in Jersey City. And then I started to connect with people and meet them. And I started volunteering for this organization called Art House Productions. And little did I know that years later I would be their gallery director.
Word.
In their brand new building, on Marin Boulevard. But I've been with them for a while now.
Where was Art House before?
So Art House is a nonprofit multi-arts organization, and they started in little spaces. They started in 2001. And they were sort of based in various places throughout the city. Because they were a nonprofit, they got sort of rent stabilization here and there, and were sponsored by different developers. And they were in, let's see, the spaces that I'm familiar with was Hamilton Park. They were in a school, at the top floor of a school there. Then they moved to Journal Square into this old Verizon building that they eventually tore down. And then Cast Iron Lofts on the border of Hoboken. On Jersey Ave. And now our final destination, which is at the Hendricks on 345 Marin Boulevard in Jersey City.
Right.
And we just cut the ribbon on July 13th, but we've been there for like, 6 months or so. And so I started volunteering for Art House in like 2011, 2012. And then did some set design for them, and worked on sets, and started helping with Snowball, which is their big fundraising gala. And
I've heard a lot about this.
And then eventually became lead designer for Snowball. And then when they moved to Cast Iron Lofts, I was asked to be a curator in their gallery, and then just sort of became director of the gallery. And so I've been working, for them for like 5 years doing that.
Word.
Yeah.
What? And you also have a show coming up there.
I do. September 9th. It's actually September 8th to October 1st. And the reception is September 9th from 5 to 8 p.m. And there's also a preview on JC Fridays at 7:15. And that will be at the gallery. And so that came about because my executive director, Meredith Burns of Art House, sort of said, you really should show your work here. And I was like, no, this is my gallery. Like, I'm supposed to, show other artists. And I was uncomfortable with it for a while. But then I thought, well, if I got a curator to do it, then I could sort of step back as, as the one in charge and have somebody kind of take over in that role.
How does that feel? Like, how does it feel?
It feels good because I love the person I chose to curate my show.
Oh, wait.
Her name is Lucy Rivetto, and she's awesome. She's a wonderful artist and human being, and she's very talented. She's very creative, and she's a great curator.
Right.
So that'll work out. And I haven't shown anything new since like 2020, since right before the pandemic, really. New work. I mean, I've done new things and I've shown in group shows and stuff like that, but I haven't had any kind of a show in a while. So this will be.
I was gonna ask, when you returned to painting, what kind of subjects were you trying to like approach? Like, what was?
So I was doing more of like this creature, and not really animated, but I guess sort of animated creatures with like floating heads and just kind of, but like not realistic, something that you'd see maybe in like a graphic novel or something, just I don't know. I love the idea of doing kind of like a science fiction or some kind of surrealistic impression of people or characters, if you will. But then it started to turn into something else as time went by, and I started to realize that, these look more like spirits from another world. And then the more I got into it, I started to, in 2013, I lost my mother, and I was doing this painting, and it's sort of during the process of like when, from the time she passed to when I finished the work, it started to remind me of like somebody that was in the afterlife. And I thought, because I was thinking a lot about death and grieving for my mother and all that. And so it started to like hit with me that, maybe this is something I would like to pursue because it was comfortable. I don't know why it was, but it felt comfortable to create things that were not alive or not real. And I was experimenting with texture, and I I have never gone back to
Yeah,
painting on flat canvas after I worked with texture.
Yeah, I noticed that with your pieces. Like, they're like really.
Yeah, they're tactile. They're. And then I found, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was like, when did the burning come into
that goes a little later.
Okay.
But then I started working on burlap, which I don't even know how I started working on it. I think I just found the material at some point in some like a skirt.
Felt perfect.
And I was like, this is like so fibrous and dense and like itchy and just scratchy. It felt like I wasn't supposed to paint on it. You know what I mean? It's like I was always looking for things that I wasn't supposed to do. I was very non-traditional in my thought process of creating art. And I suppose because when I was learning, I went to art school, and I felt like in the beginning I wasn't really an artist, and I had to really, really work at it hard to do like the figure and the still lives and the things that you're supposed to learn how to paint. And I eventually learned how to do all of that, but then I just wanted to do something else that was so different and not.
You wanted to make your own.
I wanted to make my own. Yeah, I wanted to make my own, and I couldn't figure that out. But it was starting to happen before I even realized it. With just picking up the burlap and painting oil on burlap, which is really the hardest thing ever. It's like
time-consuming?
It's very time consuming, and plus that was about the time I was stopping with oil paint because I couldn't. The fumes were just just giving me headaches and everything, and I really hated acrylic. But once I applied the texture to the burlap, then it started to make sense. And then I used acrylic, and then it just kind of all felt like this is what I'm going to do now, because it felt good, it felt comfortable. My decorative painting skills came into play with using the texture and how different stains and paints worked with it, and what materials I should use to create what kind of effects. And so it felt really good to do it. And then I don't know, I just started to paint these figures that they just did not look like they were from here. So yeah, it just kind of fell into place. I don't know.
It's weird. I've noticed that in I've done a lot of these interviews, and it seems to be a common thread with everybody. It's like, anytime that like people, they go and they're like kind of venturing, like this was a venture for me. And it was weird. I actually did a podcast last night, and I remember recalling to my friend who was like, yo, you got to come in, you have to have your intro. And I was like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another, like, you know what I mean? It was like, and it was a whole new format for me. I had no idea. But it was strange because I do photography. Photography is my everyday film. Like my purpose is to make films. I remember it's been 10 years as being a filmmaker, and I like chose this path. And and I like when I was in my early 20s, I'd struggle a lot. I didn't know what the fuck to like. I didn't know what to make. I didn't know how to like. I would walk around LA and I would just take photos of homeless people. Which is kind of what I'm still doing. But it's like not that. I'm like I like learned a lot. You know what I mean? But it's like I didn't have a style or any like specific thing to do. Like looking back at like your first paintings and stuff, and then it's just you slowly come into yourself like a fucking caterpillar or some shit.
I think it finds you. I think that I know a lot of artists. I've met a lot of artists over the years, and I feel like sometimes they ask, I'm confused about what I should do, and I said, you just have to do what you feel is right, and I know a lot of artists that do a lot of different styles and a lot of different mediums, and that's great because you're experimenting, you're trying to find your thing. I've tried to do that with other materials in art, and it just hasn't stuck yet because I love so much working with texture and this fibrous material that I'm sort of not done with it yet, so I'm just kind of continuing the process and then finding other ways to make it come alive, I guess. And I guess that's where the burning comes in.
I always wondered, I was like, is it like, are you a burner?
No, I never.
Never went to Burning Man?
Huh?
I was like, have you never went to Burning Man? I'm going to Burning Man at the end of the month.
No, I've never. No, Burning Man is not my thing. That is not my thing. It really is like it's. I just. No, it has nothing to do with that. I just. First of all, I love film as well, and I love video making and like doing things with video and trying to incorporate the art into an atmosphere, an environment. You know, in 2020, I took my paintings out to Sandy Hook and photographing them on like in the water and in, you know, in the ocean and stuff and like in these little streams and putting it in the water and seeing the effects of that and sort of videotaping that and taking pictures. And it just felt like it felt
right.
so right. I was like, this is, you know, because a lot of the pieces, they kind of look like mermaids in a sense. Not mermaids, but like they look like they come from the ocean, I guess, at some point. Like they're spirits that maybe
very, like wavy.
well, they, you know, I guess I know I don't make any sense, but
I don't know. It
it's
makes
almost
perfect
like,
sense.
you know, we come from somewhere, right? Where do we come from exactly? You know, where do we come from, right? I mean, I feel like we come from the ocean in a certain weird way. Like we come from there and then we go somewhere else. Maybe we go back to the ocean. I don't know. I'm very tied to the water.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like being in the water. Like I don't swim.
No,
so
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like being in the, but I love being near it and I feel a real connection to it. And I feel like, you know,
there's a deep sense of calm anytime you actually, I think it's like there's like a neuro study or some shit where it's like anybody who like people in beach towns are inherently more calm.
Well, that's because the ocean is, you know, I think scientifically proven to reduce your stress.
Yeah, it's
you know, and I love the ocean so much, and I just feel like the work that I'm doing sort of comes from like the deep sea, because I also feel like it's just as mysterious as death. I feel like the deep ocean is just as like what is down there, you know. Once you get down there, I mean, you know, you can't survive down there.
Yeah,
and
you still can't survive
no,
down there. It's
we
like
cannot.
There are parts of the
And
ocean we can't even.
No,
yeah.
Clearly.
That was a weird ass one.
Yeah, that was. But anyway,
oh my God.
So I feel like when we pass on, our spirit just, I don't know where it goes, but I don't have any experience with that. Like I don't have spirits coming to me and telling me things, or I'm not a medium or anything like that, but
it's an innate
I
feeling.
just feel like you know, that there's another thing after this. I feel like there's something else. And what does it look like when we're going there? And I think that's a lot of what my work looks like, is, you know, it's sort of like the in-between world. It's like, what do we look like when we pass on? We're sort of dissolving our physical selves and transcending into something else and back to energy. And what does that energy look like? Does it look like anything? Does it have color? Do you still have parts of yourself or parts of your soul is still lingering there? So it's kind of like that. It's what do you look like when you're traveling to your next place? And that's always been a little bit of a question, right? So I kind of work off of that, and that's just developed over time. And now I feel like, yeah, that's kind of it. That is, you know,
That's
what
wonderful.
is it?
No, that's wonderful.
And I think the burning came in because I was looking for another way to make the pieces come into a new environment and be and the act of burning, the act of lighting it on fire and seeing it burn and then extinguishing the flames leaves you with these charred edges and charred pieces of burlap, and it's sort of it puts it in another context. You know, as opposed to putting them in water. I like putting them in water and making them float in the ocean, and you know, the salt water doesn't affect them at all, but you know, sometimes there's still sand that sort of lingers there for a while, which I love. Yeah. But that's one environment, and then burning it just seems like that's the ultimate transition, when they're just disappearing into whatever they're going to become.
Putting all your pieces out as journeys. It's weird. They're like messages in a bottle or something. Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the painting that I chose to burn in the video that I did it in 7, shout out to Kasha.
Shout out to Kasha, Josh Knoblik, and everyone.
Yes, the garden ship.
All you crazy motherfuckers, that garden ship.
Garden ship, yes. And Josh helped a lot because he, you know, facilitated the burning. But I picked a piece that was 9 feet tall and something that I did in 2017, and I thought, it wasn't a really good painting as far as I was concerned, like not my favorite, and I thought, well, I can let this go, I can let this go, and I can let's see what happens to it when I burn it, because I want to see what happens. I wasn't going to pick my favorite piece, right? I thought, all right. So
that's great.
So which one of you bad paintings is gonna go up in flames? So
it's weird, I did a profile on this Lebanese artist for this newspaper called the Pattersonian. I still am working on, but I did like a little quick documentary piece on this guy. And this guy, he only draws the women that broke his heart. It was really, really sad, dude. Shout out to Saeed all the time. But he burns everything. Like,
wow.
He wants to burn every painting that he makes, which is like this weird sense of disattachment, and it's like,
oh, okay.
I don't know.
I don't want the attachment. I don't want the disattachment. I want more attachment in a sense of like seeing, what happens to it. And I thought that I was going to burn I thought the painting was just going to be completely burnt, when we did it, and it was, I'm glad I got it on film, but I thought the whole thing was just going to disintegrate rather. And when it fell off the pole, I had it hanging to a pole, and it collapsed on the ground. Well, we had to put it out because, we're just, it's like time to put it out.
A burning painting.
So we put it out, and then we're all like, cleaning up and walking away from it. And then I was like, oh wait, I should just maybe, pull this out and let it lay on the ground just to see what it looks like. So I pulled it out and I stretched it out onto the dirt and the sand there, and then I started to film that because I thought this is like the ambers of the burning is still there. Beautiful. And I was like, wow, I'm like, this is beautiful. Like this piece has more to it now than it did before. And I thought, I love this so much.
Some poetry in that, for real.
I loved it. And so I let it sit there overnight. I came back the next day and then filmed it again, just lying there. And I thought, this is really beautiful now. It just, and then it started to make sense with all of the...
It's more character to it.
More character, but also because I've been just experiencing a lot of grief the last 3 years because I lost my best friend in the beginning of the pandemic. Like in the very beginning, like April, and
sorry to hear that.
Thanks. And then my aunt died a month later, and then my father died a year after that.
This is all during COVID.
Well, yeah, they didn't. My aunt and my father didn't die of COVID. They were, it was their time. But my best friend died of COVID, and it was very traumatic. And I'm still like the 3 people that I love most in the world were. Well, not most. I mean, I love my husband, but shout out to my husband. but they were gone, and I didn't have any time to grieve them. I didn't have any time because it was COVID and things were happening, and it was just so much, and I was in charge of like their after life, their estates and all this kind of stuff.
Just
and
a
then
lot of responsibility getting put on.
As soon as my dad died, then my husband got sick, but he's better now. But it was just like one thing after another, and I had no time to really process these losses that happened. And, they were pretty monumental. I mean, I had plenty of time for my mom because nothing happened after that. And, but these 3 were like...
Back to back.
It was like getting shot 3 times, and then just... having to go on with these bleeding wounds, and having all these responsibilities and taking care of things. And then we moved out of Jersey City and back to the house where I grew up in because now it was empty. My aunt and my father both lived there on different floors. And it just made sense because Jersey City was now...
Jersey City.
It was just becoming... Well, at the time, everything was closed. Everything, you couldn't do anything. And it just seemed so depressing, and it just seemed like we should get out of here.
I was in Lower East Side when that shit happened. I was border Chinatown, Oh my god, it was scary.
It
It was.
was-
I dipped. I dipped after a week. I booked like 3 plane tickets. 2 of the plane tickets canceled. I was going outside, going to I was like, oh, this is a great spot. This is wonderful. There's a comedy bar down the block. Let's go get a Brooklyn Lager. And COVID hit. I was like, oh, my dumpling guy. And then there's just Chinese dudes looking at the sky. I'm like, yo, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I heard my roommate coughing. I was like, no, I gotta get out of here.
No, I know. It's just, it was
nuts.
It was a lot.
COVID was nuts.
Yeah.
It feels weird. It feels like a weird dream now.
It does, because those 3 years, so many bad things happened in those 3 years, but then again, a lot of good things happened too.
Yeah.
A lot of good things happened. So
it was a creative wave.
It was a creative wave. It was, it was. So I can't discount all of that, but it was also at the same time traumatic and just going on and dealing with all this stuff while still grieving for these losses. And so I just take it out in the work. I just put it out into the work. That's really the only way I can do it.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, because it's got to feel like a catharsis or cathartic.
Yeah, I think that painting is really the only safe place to be for me.
Yeah.
Is just trying to, and it doesn't necessarily have to correlate exactly with what you're going through, because it's hard to paint what you're feeling, but I think that what I paint is clearly what I'm feeling, especially then burning it and stuff like that.
It's energy. It's like you're finally expounding
It's energy. Exactly.
It's like
you're creating it, and then you want to treat it somehow and get it to another place. And that's where this newfound love of burning my work is going, because I feel like there's life in it, because it's life to paint it. It has life when it's done, and then burning it is another act of life in a sense, and death.
Yeah.
And it's almost, I wouldn't say killing it, but it's giving it another place to live. It's giving it another place to live in this charred sort of
it's
way.
lived this way for a long time, and it's kind of been stable in this spot, and then it's
so we'll see what all of this
what kind
brings.
of pieces you got lined up for this show now. I'm really curious. I'm like,
well,
is this
I am going to include the piece that I burned in the video, because it just looks beautiful, you know. And I took all the pieces that were falling off of it, and I kept them too. It was like, oh, look, it's like pieces of the painting. I'm gonna keep that because they look cool, and I'm gonna include that. And I have all the other pieces are new. All the other pieces I've been working on since January, and they've been treated, let's say, with burning. Burning. I'm sort of finding a fun way to give it a new, giving it new
life,
importance, giving it new life, giving it something to say, This is I don't know. It's I always find it hard to talk about the work, because you're not really sure sometimes where it's going, especially when you find a new medium such as fire. It's like I don't know. I really like it. I like doing. I'm looking around my studio and I was like, what else can I burn? what other paintings have failed me, and that I can now that I can now give new life to by disintegrating half of it. I don't know.
This is weird. No, but I was saying how you're saying it's hard to describe how the pieces come to you. It's strange with photography, because photography and this the podcasting and just photography in general. Photography, I like it because I'm out and about, and it's seeing where your eye is landing, and it's all right. So and it feels it's a strange philosophy that I've not necessarily so much subscribed to, but it's you picture your life kind of like a film, right? And like all of these moments that are like everything right now is 24 frames per second. I'm seeing you, you're seeing me, and everything is just, we're all just single shot, like all just single images compiled into and your consciousness is essentially an editing of an entire film, like all of your yes. Exactly.
It's very deep.
exactly that's why I'm a nutcase. Like what's it called? So there's like the deliverable of the divine, which is like the inspiration that you'll see, like you'll take in a piece of art and like kind of like an AI, you'll like, you'll devour it and you'll pick your parts of it, and it's like, oh, and fed this Van Gogh painting or lights, camera, action, whatever the fuck this piece is, and like you'll be reactive to it, and your eye is trained into these things, so now you see the world in like a different light. And like my thing is like there's feeling when it comes to photography, and you'll notice like you'll see your mood getting reflected in the subjects that you choose to see, and it's strange in that sense. It's like it's all the reactivity of your eye, and it's strange because the other day my friend was over here and she had a photo shoot. She was giving just headshots to them, and she was asking me like how do you get like the subjects to relax? I'm like, I fucking don't. I just fucking take their photo. I mean, I just like, I don't. There's no thing to it, but it's strange now too because I'm in art school now. I kind of want to hear about your art school days too, but I'm in art school now, and I was always a little envious of painters because like they're not like, I'm reactive to what the city is feeding me. Like I love to hear the city breathe, and that's like my favorite, and it brings me calm. Like there's like you find calming in your like your work.
So where are you going to school?
I go to PCCC, which is not Passaic County Correctional Facility. Passaic County Community College. Shout out to... I've taken drawing 1 and figure drawing, and I'm about to take printmaking. I really want to learn printmaking. And shout out to Boris after I learned screen printing. I'm probably hanging out with that guy.
That's cool.
I really want to learn screen printing because I did a run of T-shirts for the Pattersonian, and I want to like... Oh,
that's cool.
I like making... I want to do something with my photography because I feel like it's my strong point. Yeah. But I also want to get into painting. Like, but figure drawing was great. Figure drawing was one of my favorite things.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to master. I mean, you're always learning. You're always, you have to always do it, and that was sort of something that I regret. I loved art school. I went to School of Visual Arts in Manhattan.
Oh, you went to SVA?
Yeah, I went to SVA, and this was from 88 to 92.
Damn, son.
So this was like a really cool time to be in the city. I mean, it kind of just missed all the really cool time to be in the city. But just died. Right. Yeah, I know, right? Everybody died, and
everybody had a way too fun of a time.
I know, but I loved New York so much. I loved being in the city all the time. Just the energy there. Yeah. But I was, I feel like it's all wasted sometimes on the youth because I wasn't focused as I wanted to be. Like I was going to go in there, I was going to be focused and everything. And then you get in there and you meet people and you hang out, and then you go out and you hang outside and of the school, and you go, stay out. You do all that stuff, and
sometimes the life consumes you more than the fucking work.
The social life consumed me more, which was bad because I really wanted to focus more on the work. So I majored in illustration, which was the biggest mistake of my life. Yeah,
why? Why is that?
Well, actually, so in your second year you have to pick a major, and actually I picked graphic design and what was it? Commercial art. So I started these classes, and literally the second week, I was like, this is not me. I'm out of here. And I went to the registrar's office and I changed to illustration because it was like, your parents are paying for art school, and you're like, you got to get a job after art school. And I figured illustration might be something that I could do. And I was so wrong. I mean, illustration is like the farthest thing from anything I ever wanted to do. It's like, I mean, these classes were like, they were interesting, but I kept doing my instructors would say, this isn't really the direction, like you're not listening to the direction. And I was like, well, this is this is how I feel about it. And they're like, you're not supposed to feel about it. You're supposed to
do the goddamn children's book.
Yeah, exactly. This is editorial illustration. You're supposed to, I'm like, but I did look at the play. I did read the book. I did it. Like, this is what it is. Like, no, but it's not.
Are you illustrating plays?
Posters for operas.
Oh, okay.
So like posters for plays and like stuff like that. Like you're supposed to just.
I'm like, that's fucking dope. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I gotta do that for my screenplays.
Well, one of the instructors were. Well, I don't want to talk about one of the instructors.
Oh, all good.
They were getting into a whole thing, but no. No, but I mean, it's the assignments just came from what they were doing, because a lot of the instructors were working illustrators, so we were doing
storyboard
stuff.
artists.
Yeah. And it's just not what I wanted to do. And I felt like, so after the first semester, I took a semester off to sort of contemplate what I was doing there, and I was sort of painting and doing like stupid paintings, dumbass work during that time, just trying to experimenting on,
There's no bad notes in jazz. Or no wrong notes.
That's true.
In jazz.
I know. I was experimenting, just painting like a lot of.
I just do it line man
shit.
now. He's my baby. He's my baby. Because like everybody was really into anime during this fucking figure drawing class. Like everybody's looking like, and they were really into drawing. I'm just like, I just want to do photography and like not have somebody punch me. Fucking like,
and I just felt like I couldn't draw well either. And I mean, when I came back to school the semester later, I had some really good instructors. I chose really good instructors that helped me. I could now like get into drawing the figure. I could like by the end of college, I was like doing it really well, and was able to paint really well, and I was doing all of that. But I still didn't like this whole illustrative world. And when we had like an portfolio instructor, and we met with him at the end. This is like before we graduate and stuff, and he's like,
get your shit together.
He's like, you really like your work is just more fine art. You should have just gone into fine art.
Yeah.
And I said, I know, but it's too late. And he's like, it's not really. He goes, you can just just continue and go into fine art. He's like, you don't have to graduate. And it was just like, oh, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that. Because I would have loved to have done that. I would have loved to have done that and spend...
Just trying to get another 2 semesters, I think.
Well, he was an illustrator. He didn't care one way or the other. And he really didn't. Like, he was one of those guys. He didn't care what you did. Like, he didn't have any feelings towards anybody whatsoever. But he was just like, this is something illustration is just really not your thing. And I knew that. But here I was, and I graduated, and I didn't want my parents to have to put up with another couple years and pay for all that. And I felt bad for them. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to go on and see what happens. So, illustration did not work out. And then I did get this little painting that I made with photography in it, no less. It's like kind of like a collage thing, and I got into this little gallery in New Hope, Pennsylvania. This little like new gallery run by an artist, one of those avant-garde things, and they loved it, and they were showing it. And I was like, "Oh, this is it's a great place." The gallery only lasted like a year or whatever, but it was so amazing to be part of like a group show with other artists and show your work, and I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I want. I don't want to do illustration. I want to do this. But then it's like, how are you going to make money?
Yeah. So it's capitalism gone wild, ladies and gentlemen, in stores now.
To make a long story short, I found decorative painting, which, made a good living for myself doing that.
Right.
But the whole time was like painting was always there. But at that time, of course, you don't find your voice, I don't feel, until much later. I didn't find my voice in painting, and I was doing all kinds of like weird, like I said, creature paintings and things like that, which was fun.
It's like
I had a great time. I still showed in like cafes and stuff and little places around, and it was really fun. But I didn't really find my voice in painting until I would say 2012, when yeah, when things just started to really click together. It all kind of clicked like a puzzle, all just kind of came.
Right.
And then it just built on there, and now I really feel good about what I'm doing. So but I want to get, I want to do more. I want to do like so much more.
How does it feel being on the other side of it and curating and working with artists to be able to like showcase their pieces? That's like, that's gotta be like, I don't know. That's
what?
I worked as an assistant curator, but like I wasn't like. Actually, I was an art dealer. I was like an intern at a spot, but I never got to be able to like what is that like?
Well, I started curating work in like 2013 earlier than that, 2012, when my best friend who had passed, we did. She was a jewelry maker. She made amazing jewelry with really wild, beads and bones and things like that, but like really different stuff. And she's always wanted a boutique, and I always wanted to kind of have a gallery in a sense, and we put together a pop-up market that we put on like on the weekend. We did it like 3 times during the course of a year and a half. And I was curating it, like putting artwork in and putting artists in, and then like a local cafe said, "Oh, would you curate, for us?" And which I did, and then we opened up a gallery, like a real gallery boutique in downtown Jersey City called the Raven Gallery and Boutique, and we opened that in 2014. And we thought, like, let's just give it a try. There was like this really tiny store on Newark Avenue near White Eagle Hall, and before they opened actually, and it was really cheap rent, and it was like a 10 by 60 space, 10 feet by 60. It was like a long closet. Yeah, it was like a long closet. Long closet. And we thought, you know what, why don't we just try it for like a year? Just because, she really wanted to do the store thing. And I wanted to have like a gallery thing. And I was painting furniture at the time. I was, as part of my business. And I wanted a place to sell it and, showcase it. And it seemed like a really perfect thing. And the rent was right. So we were like, let's do it for a year. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, we became like this local, gallery that had great parties, great receptions. We were always on the street. It was
Everybody's
it was packed. It was, we have such great pictures and memories of that place. And we showed everybody in town, even artists from like Trenton, Pennsylvania would come and show their art there. And
that's good.
We found artists from all over the place. They found us really. And Javi, who's my friend, she was just so awesome at doing this because she just went in full force. We both kept our jobs. I mean, I was still decorative painting, and she was a social worker for a school district, and she wasn't going to give up her job because it was a good job. And so we were open on the weekends, which, it was hard because you want to be open every day and you want to, but we couldn't do it that way. So we were open on the weekends. I think like the first 6 months we were doing really well. And then we plateaued, and then we were like scrambling for rent and stuff like that. And but after like the first year, the landlord raised the rent, and it was like, all right, what are we gonna do? So we kept it going for 3.5 years actually, and then we had to call it quits because he just jacked up the rent too much, and we just couldn't do. Like, I just couldn't do it. Like, she could, but I couldn't, because I was a freelancer basically. I mean, doing decorative work was, I never knew where my next paycheck was coming from, and it was my only source of income, and it was, it was here and there at that time. So we couldn't keep it up. So we had to close it, which was really sad. But then I was asked to curate things here and there, and then Art House eventually asked me to curate for them, and it was like, it's really fun to curate other artists. I love showcasing other artists and putting them in the spotlight, and I love showing art that I love and the artists that I love, and it's really fun and rewarding. Of course, you have this like double life where you feel like I'm putting in energy to you when I should be putting it into myself. It's
like directing and acting a little bit.
Exactly. It's like as much as I love it, at the same time, it's like, why am I doing this? I want to focus on my own work all the time.
Well, you do have some work getting showcased on September 9th, guys. September 9th.
September. No, thanks for the plug. No, I know, and that's really great, and I'm so appreciative of the opportunity. I'm always appreciative of any opportunity to show my work anywhere, but it does. I don't know. I guess when I'm doing it, I don't think about myself. I think about, the artist, and I think about the kind of show I'm putting up and what do I want to present to the world, the Jersey City world, and how can I get their work sold? That's always there and stuff. And then I go home and I'm like, okay, now I got to figure it out for myself.
Yeah, I got to get it.
So I can separate it. It's I'm never sort of in that weird space where I'm like jealous of them. I'm not. Because it's like everybody does things so differently. Like every artist does their own thing. You can't be that. Like I find a hard time being that way, because it's like if they're getting success for what they do, it's like because it's what they do, and if I get a little success because of what I'm doing, it's because of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So it's just time. It's the thing I'm envious is the time of like I just want more time to do for me. Yeah. So, but it's my fault, it's all my fault. It's like I have to carve out the time. Yeah, you have to carve out the time for yourself, and you have to make that a priority. And I have sometimes, and sometimes I haven't, and that's where the fight is. It's to prioritize what you want most in life and make that a priority and do it. And that's always what I seem to be fighting against,
That's what I really liked in 7. It's weird. It's because, like, I like that this is 7. I got 7 days.
Exactly, 7 days.
Everybody leave me alone.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like I have to hold down like commodities business, and doing other stuff, and I'm just like, I need to get a film out, and now I have a fucking film. Like, I feel good, but now I'm like, I need to make another film. Like,
I know. That's the way I feel, too. I feel like, that you...
That's why I love photography. It's little steps. It's the consistency. Right. The consistency of just, like, it's weird. It's strange because, like, I'm a hopper a little bit. I'm very, like, I have a pretty crazy ADD brain. Even when I'm, like, doing stuff with the Mondays with Mav, shout out to Mondays with Mav, but like I can't stick with one instrument. I'm like, I want to play the bass for a little bit. That's like me on a camera, and then it's like I want to play I want to play the drums a little bit. It's like writing or like fucking podcasting or just taking photos and like painting. But it's those little consistent steps are like where I found a lot of growth. But like for projects and like going and doing them, it's like I need like blocks, man. It's just isolation a little bit. Solitude is a fucking...
That's where residencies are really great. I did a residency in 21, which I created a lot of work. It was 3 months, but I was still living at home. It was in Jersey City, so I can just go there every day. But I wasn't working, so like I didn't work. I just did the residency, and it was amazing because I just focused on my work. Yeah. And I created some really nice pieces out of that. Like really, favorites of mine, and it's so hard to carve that block of time. I would love to just do that. It's like, okay, I'm going to take 2 months off, and I'm just going to be in my studio, and it's hard to do that because you're constantly thinking about all the other things you have to do. Oh yeah. For me, it's like Art House is a great place for me to be, but there's so much going on all the time. Yeah. And there's so many things I'm involved in. It's like my brain is always on it somehow. It's like I wake up thinking, okay, what is that thing I have to do for for this event and for this show, and it's always there. Yeah. And for myself, I'm thinking of my own things too. Yeah. So it's like, this ADHD brain of like just trying to get all of the things done, and then I forgot I have to actually go grocery shopping and pay my bills. I have to do those things too.
I haven't had a scheduled day in like maybe I have scheduled days, but I don't like fucking like I don't have a schedule. but I've been busy for the past like 6 years.
No,
so,
it's right. I try to write schedule. I try to write a schedule, and it never works. I always throw it.
That's why I just give
works.
people my number. I'm like, yo, text me the day before this podcast. I can't do it. I had a Calendly thing. I have the apps. Fucking try to write them down. Doesn't work. I'm like Wednesday. Like tomorrow, I was like, I don't know if I schedule somebody for tomorrow, but I have to go to AC with my little cousin.
Oh my
I
God.
need to go to AC, but
I have a physical calendar, I have a notebook, and then my phone, and it's like I'm, constantly making the lists for myself, for Art House, for life, all these things, and then I have a book of the art ideas and all the things I want to get to and do, and it's just after a while it's like I have to enjoy the moment, like I have to enjoy this moment that I am here with you doing this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy having this conversation about it, and then at the same time thinking about all the things that I have to get to.
Oh no, it's the same. One piece of advice that I've picked up, and it's weird because it's a work day, but it's not a work day. But it's still a work day.
Yeah.
Is I do banya. I do the Russian sauna shit. Shout out to Alex Perlman for turning me on to this shit. I take 1 day out of the month and I have a banya day, right? And I'm going, and it's normally like just settling bills. Like I'm like, all right, like let me pay this thing, let me do this, and I'm like, and I go with a single objective, and like it'd be something as mundane as like uploading fucking episodes or changing like artwork or like ordering a bunch of shit. I don't know, like that shit that's like piled up. Like it's like a clear the desk day, but clearing the desk is a very stressful time where it's like shit everywhere. Yeah, it is very stressful. And I do like maybe like 10% or like 25% each. I'm on a computer. I hate computer work.
Me too.
Yeah, fucking, and then I just jump into like some freezing cold water, and then I'm like, and then your mind goes into survival mode.
Oh my God!
Yeah, your mind's like, and then it's completely clear. Then I'm like, all right, let me go on the Excel sheet one more time. Works. I don't know, but to each his own.
Yeah, I don't know.
But maybe jump into some freezing cold water.
I don't know about that. I probably should, but I don't know if I'll do that anytime soon.
So, September 9th, we have a...
September 9th. September 8th is a preview. And that's going to be special because it's going to include dancer Miranda Dahl of Prototype. Yay, Miranda.
Shout out to Miranda.
Shout out to Miranda. She is going to do a special performance in the gallery, and folks are going to gather outside of the gallery to watch it. Woo! So it's going to be it'll be short, but effective.
Yeah.
So that's the preview. And then the official opening reception is Saturday, September 9th from 5 to 8. At Art House Productions, 345 Marin Boulevard in Jersey City. That's my plug.
And where can we find you on social media?
Just Instagram. It's Andrea McKenna 19. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I don't really.
Nobody uses it anymore.
No, it just things get shared to Facebook from Instagram, and I'm like, oh, did that share to Facebook? But no, it's mainly right now Instagram. Yeah, that's it.
Andrea McKenna, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Afternoon FM. Stay beautiful, people.